Today, we're going to follow one family, the Schaffners, on a really incredible journey. Now, this is based on a work of historical fiction, and it traces their path across the treacherous Isthmus of Panama all the way back in 1855. This was this tiny strip of land separating two massive oceans, and for thousands of people just like them, it was the gateway between their old life and the promise of a golden future. So let's jump right in and join them on this extraordinary crossing.
So picture this. The family is on a ship, and this is their very first sight of Panama from the Caribbean coast. Before they even feel the heat or smell the jungle, it's this color that hits them. An overwhelming, almost impossible green. It's described as a solid wall of jungle rising straight out of the sea. It doesn't even look real.
All right, so this is it. The first leg of their journey begins. And this isn't just about arriving in a new place. For a family coming from New York, this is a full-blown sensory assault. It truly feels like they've arrived at the very edge of the known world.
And then the smell hits them. And we're not just talking about a scent here. The source actually describes it as a physical substance. The air is so thick with the smell of things growing and decaying all at once that you don't just breathe it in, you literally have to wade through it.
But sometimes it just takes a kid's perspective to cut through all that overwhelm. In the middle of this oppressive, totally alien atmosphere, 4-year-old Herman Schaffner just boils it all down to the most familiar thing he can think of. It's such a simple, perfect observation that just slices right through the intensity of it all.
So, the chaos of nature is very quickly matched by the chaos of humanity. The family gets off the boat and steps right into the port city of Aspinwall, a frantic, makeshift town just teeming with people, all of them driven by that exact same dream of heading west.
You should think of Aspinwall less like a city and more like a human bottleneck. It was built on this little coral island, and it was just a jumble of wooden buildings, tents, and warehouses, packed with thousands of residents and this constant swirling tide of travelers trying to get from one ocean to the other.
And it was this incredible collision of worlds. You had gold prospectors, merchants, local guides, opportunists of every kind you can imagine, all shouting and selling and moving in this one giant noisy wave. It's like the whole Great Migration West was compressed into just a few chaotic city blocks.
So how do you even begin to navigate that kind of chaos? Well, Frederick, the father, he has this very simple, pragmatic strategy. Stick together, keep moving, and stay vigilant. Because in a place like this, you learn pretty quickly that caution is your most valuable currency.
The first big hurdle is just buying a train ticket. And these numbers, they really paint a picture of pure exhaustion. We're talking an hour and a half, standing in the suffocating noon heat, with Frederick carrying his son on his shoulders for nearly an hour of it. And after all of that waiting and stress, you get this small, perfectly human moment. They finally get their hands on these little yellow card tickets, and what does 4-year-old Herman do? He immediately tries to eat it. Just a little flash of comedy right in the middle of a really grueling day.
So later that night, Frederick is lying awake in this hot, stuffy room in Aspinwall, and he starts to reflect. He's already left Germany, he's left New York, and he asks himself this question, wondering about this restlessness that just seems to define his life.
But he realizes, it's not just about restlessness. It's something deeper. He's not just running away from his past, he's moving towards a future he can't quite see yet. And he's holding on to this hope that that this might finally be the place he's been looking for all along.
The next morning, they board the train. And this is the centerpiece of the entire crossing, the Panama Railroad. It had only been finished 6 months earlier, and it was a near impossible feat of engineering. A thin line of steel cutting through 47 miles of the most unforgiving terrain on the planet. It was basically the ambition of an entire era, made real with iron and steel.
So let's just look at this number for a second. 295. On its own, it's just a figure. It doesn't mean much, right? But in the context of building this railroad, it represents the staggering, almost unimaginable price of that ambition.
Because the stark reality is this. For every single mile of this 47-mile track, an estimated 295 workers lost their lives, to malaria, to cholera, to accidents. The Schaffners are riding on this absolute marvel of progress, a symbol of manifest destiny that was paid for with a breathtaking human cost. But then, just as you're thinking about that incredible human cost, the weight of that reality is just shattered by a shout of pure joy. Herman spots a monkey in the trees, and for a moment, all the danger and the hardship of the jungle just fades away.
It's replaced by simple wonder.
And you can almost feel this ripple of delight go through the entire train car. All the passengers start laughing and craning their necks to see. Even the jaded American ticket agent, who's probably seen this 100 times, looks up from his newspaper, and his expression just softens for an instant when he sees the look on the little boy's face.
Of course, the journey wasn't all just wonder and monkeys. There were some really tense moments, too. Twice, as the train crossed high over these wide, muddy rivers, a hush would just fall over everyone. By some unspoken agreement, all the passengers would just go silent, focusing on that bridge holding, listening to the deep, vibrating song of the iron.
And then, after 4.5 hours, they're through. The jungle gives way, and the family steps off the train to face their next great horizon, the Pacific Ocean.
I mean, can you just imagine the relief? After the suffocating, dense, humid air of the Caribbean side, the first thing they feel is this cool, clean wind. It's the feeling of arrival, of survival, and of a brand new beginning. It tastes of nothing but salt and the immense distance they still have to go.
And it's in this moment, standing there on the platform, that Frederick really frames the entire experience for his son. In this simple little exchange, he's placing their personal journey onto a map of the whole world, giving Herman this incredible sense of scale for their adventure. And Herman's response, when he learns there are 3 other oceans they haven't crossed yet, he just says, "Maybe we will." And in those 3 simple words, you hear the entire spirit of this journey. It's this open, uncomplicated ambition to just see what else is out there.
The Schaffner's story is really just a snapshot from 1855, but the feeling it captures is completely timeless. And it leaves us with a question that echoes through every generation of explorers and dreamers and innovators, doesn't it? What's the next horizon? And how many oceans are left for us to cross?